This episode of Capes and Lunatics is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. Get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
Welcome, dear friends, to The Devil You Know. I am your host, Charlie, the Professor Esser. And with me, as always, is my skinny rich friend...
It's Mozz.
Hey, Mozz. So glad to have you here, as always. And all the things we're talking about, we're going to do at some other point. Some of which Lilith might publicize, and some she may hold over my head for blackmail later. Anyway, tonight's episode, Season 3, Episode 5, The Perfect Game. To quell the rising backlash over his release, Fisk serves up a scapegoat to the FBI. Dex misses the mark when he runs into a woman from his past. Our director tonight is Julian Holm, and of course Stan Lee and Bill Everett gets those great Marvel created by credits. Drew Goddard, of course, created this whole mess that we've been loving for so long. Tanya Kong wrote this episode. It's got her written by. She's the story editor. And once again, that unsung hero, hardest working woman in show business, our staff writer, Sarah Streicher. Thank you, Sarah, for all the work you do, even if it is. So it was tragic seeing that Matt Murdock died last episode. I don't know what they're going to fill the next 6 episodes of the next, 8 episodes of this show with. I mean, since clearly we pulled the cab out and, sure, no body, but...
And the door is open.
Yeah, who could survive falling into a river?
Here's what got me. It's like, how did this work? He is, I guess it's some sort of sonar which he uses to locate his surroundings or understand his surroundings. In the water, it's all rushing, so he can't hear if he's... So maybe he went underwater where he could, like, the rushing sound of the water meeting the air wouldn't be happening. He would just have the muffled, sound underwater. Maybe he could sonar his way to shore that way. What do you think?
Well, yeah, obviously, you may not have heard this, but, dolphins and whales also use sonar. So and actually submarines also use sonar. What's actually interesting is that what Matt uses is an aerial sonar like bats use, but the basic physics is the same. And actually, fun fact, Theodore Edison, Thomas Edison's son, actually invented aerial sonar, like decades ago. And he presented it to the Army, and they said, oh, that's great. The only problem is we actually just invented radar, but it's been top secret this whole time, so we really have no use for aerial sonar. But it's a fun fact about aerial sonar. It actually, you can't use a stealth ship on it. You can't, stealth aircraft, it's completely visible to it, because that absorbs radio waves, not sound waves. So, yeah, just fun facts about science. And Theodore Edison, known for having the longest patent. His father had, the most patents. He had the longest patent because he never patented anything until the Army turned down his aerial sonar, and he realized, I guess Dad was right, I got to patent everything. He just took all of his inventions and made, one gigantic patent. And because he was Theodore Edison and everyone knew him, they were like, yeah, it's fine. It's fine, Teddy. Just give us the big patent. He's got this enormous patent that's 8,000 inventions. Yeah. Yeah, the Edisons, they were pretty smart guys.
Interesting. I didn't even know that was possible.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's stuff I learned in high school when I was a young man researching, great inventors of the day. Which is why I will never get into that whole Tesla cult. Because those guys
I'm so in.
I know, everyone's into Tesla.
I'm so on board. I love the guy. I think he's amazing.
I'm not saying he's not amazing. He was one of the greatest scientists who ever lived. I'm just saying Edison got stuff done. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, I thought you meant, Elon Musk and Tesla. But what's funny is...
Oh, you mean Elon Musk? No,
I thought you meant the company, and yeah. No, Tesla, and it's funny, I saw a clip recently of Elon Musk talking about Tesla, and he goes, yeah, Tesla was great, but I'm really more impressed by Edison, because he's the one that got these inventions out to the masses. He's the one that actually made them effective. And I was like, oh, that's fascinating that he thinks that way.
Well, yeah, not for nothing. That actually makes sense. Now it actually makes sense to me, because I always thought the biggest joke about Tesla is that it's a company that makes direct current technology, and it's called Tesla.
Right.
Because it uses batteries, and batteries are
Right.
direct current technology, and of course that was what Edison's thing was. Because
Right.
I think from Edison's point of view, he actually always wanted people to get off the grid, because he said, well, no, you should just have a battery, and you should maybe get a solar cell, or you should just build stuff that just so that you have your electricity with you, rather than having to send electricity all these miles, because that just seems like a lot of work. Now, granted, when he could, he was happy to sell that electricity with the various Edison companies he founded. But that was not his. That was not his. Arguably his goal. I think he really was a utopian in the purest sense. While he was trying to make money. Like the Silicon Valley. Can we be a utopian and make money? It's like, yes, but people will hate you for it later. Because I think every Silicon Valley guy is a utopian at his heart, but I also think that because they need to make money, they also become quite corrupted by it, as you do.
Right. It's just the life cycle of that dynamic, isn't it?
Yes, it is, and none of this has to do with the show we're watching. Let's talk about this show. So Matt Murdock sadly died, but we do see that the cops burst in and they find like bloody clothes and all this kind of stuff. So we do get the impression, like really, obviously, we all know Matt survived. So it's not like it was. But we don't see Matt for most of this episode. Most of this episode, it is just the cops busting into his apartment and Matt's not there. And then it's everybody else's life in the aftermath of what just happened. And not the least of which is, Wilson Fisk not wanting to believe that Matt's blind.
Right.
And I like this in the fact that we do have this look into, the efforts to get information on people. Where basically, our lawyer comes in and he basically says, look, we broke it down. Trust me, it's not like we never bothered to look into Matt Murdock. That was our day one job with you,
Right.
And this is everything we have. There's medical records, school records. This guy's been blind since he was 9 years old. Does that look like a blind man? It's like, I don't know. Not for nothing. It's one of these items where it's like, there is a guy with bulletproof skin up in Harlem who I've met several times.
Right.
There's a guy he hangs out with sometimes who, like, punches through steel walls with an iron fist. And, and all these other things that we both have personally encountered recently. So it's not like, oh, he's a blind guy who somehow fights really well. That's kind of bearing the lead, especially when you think about just, the history of the blind master in Kung Fu anyway. Because if you think about that trope of the blind Kung Fu master, which predates, well, I don't know if it predates Daredevil, but I think it does. I do think the blind Kung Fu master does predate.
Oh yeah, because there's Satoichi. He's the blind samurai swordsman from old Japanese movies from like the 50s.
Okay, so there we go. So there is this idea. It exists within popular culture. So it shouldn't be that shocking to say, yep, this is one of them blind masters things,
But Ichi wasn't he wasn't super powered, and he played blind like he really was. But when it came to fighting, his senses were so attuned,
Oh yeah, and not for nothing. There's even an old Germanic myth, and this is just a little more. Well, yeah, this is this classic. This is from an old book of. They're actually kind of German folk tales, and it's and I forget the actual, but basically, this duke gets conquered. He gets his eyes plucked out by the villainous. Cruel, and of course he was like one of the great, crossbow archers of that he was known, to be able to pick something out, from like miles away, and they but he's been locked up in the dungeon for like so many years, and they bring him out, and of course the evil duke is going, ha 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 ha, here, give him a crossbow, what are you gonna do with it, ha ha ha, blah, blah. And of course shoots him right through the throat. Because you're making enough noise, and it's not like you're moving around. It's like I still know how to point, It's So yeah, but this is a legend that goes back a very long time. So it shouldn't be that surprising in a world with actual Hulks.
Right.
There's a blind man who can punch people really well. This shouldn't be that overwhelming. This should be well, yeah, I guess that's that. But then again, I guess maybe if you're a guy like Fisk who wants to be in control of the idea that someone is superpowered is very frustrating.
So he doesn't know Matt Murdock is Daredevil yet? I can't remember if there was a moment in one of the seasons where he unmasked him.
Here's what I'll say.
Probably not, because it doesn't seem like he does.
I think this is one of these issues where it's sort of like Bruce Wayne is Batman. It's like, obviously Bruce Wayne is Batman. I don't think you have to unmask Batman to know that Bruce Wayne is Batman.
Yeah.
We often say, who could Batman be? It's Bruce Wayne. And I think that's sort of where we're at. And I think a lot of the things that we're seeing at this point is like, I don't think Matt's that interested in secret identity anymore. And in fact, I think if there's anything to say about the opening of this season, it's that Matt has decided not to be Matt anymore anyway.
Right.
It's not.
He doesn't have a secret identity anymore.
Exactly. He's just who he is, and that's who he's trying to be. And I think that's the selling point of this. And as we go through this, I think it is Wilson trying to deal with the fact that, and I think this is actually an interesting thing that's come up in the comic books recently. It's actually a book called Marvel Knights that me and Phil have been reading. And, basically the idea is all the superheroes forgot who they were. Basically, but Daredevil's one of the superheroes who, like, recaptures things, and it's like all these heroes from the Marvel Knights line. So you have Daredevil, you have Elektra, you have the Punisher, and then they also threw in the Hulk, and Black Panther in there because he just got nominated for an Oscar. And you have this thing where Wilson Fisk is one of the villains who's regained some of his memory, and he's actually working with Dr. Doom, who is totally aware of everything because he's Dr. Doom. And there's this thing where when Fisk betrays Dr. Doom, and he beats him up, and then Dr. Doom is shooting him with his repulsor rays, and Fisk is just shaking it off, and it's just this thing. Well, yeah, but this is the thing. We already know that Fisk doesn't have superpowers because he once got his butt kicked by Spider-Man. When Spider-Man decided, because it was when Aunt May was dying and Spider-Man wasn't holding back, and basically broke into prison just to beat up Wilson Fisk, to let him know, listen, if anything happens to my aunt, just understand, you're only alive because I have decided not to kill you. And you are nothing to us superpowered people. You supervillains who have no powers get to exist because we don't kill. And so just think about that the next time you want to target anyone in my family. And we'll get to that later. And it's this idea that, the mob specifically, has been experimenting with superpowers for a long time. And it just seems logical that eventually a guy like Wilson Fisk is going to start giving himself some Man Mountain Marco serum just to stay relevant because, you test it on all your underlings, and if they don't die, and the serum's working, let's say, okay, now I'll take the super steroid as well and get these superpowers going too. We'll talk about it later, Tristan. That's a whole other set of episodes. No. Anyway, yes, well, I'll tell you exactly how he did it. He did it because he's Spider-Man and he just went in there. Because he has superpowers and spider sense, and that's how you do things. But this is this thing. But Wilson Fisk in that comic that we read basically takes on these full blasts and is shake it off. And then earlier we see the Rhino knock Wilson Fisk into a car, crush the car by Wilson Fisk's body hitting it, and Wilson Fisk again just gets back up. So there's definitely been this implication that Wilson Fisk is juicing at this point.
Right.
So, but this isn't the Fisk we're talking about here. This is a much more real-world Fisk because, I think from that perspective, he does get frustrated by these superpowered beings. I think he's also a little frustrated by Dex, because I think Dex is a guy that he sees as, again, someone who may not even realize he has a power. You know, we get this great scene of essentially we find out that Dex is, you know, that basically his lawyers have gotten all the therapy tapes and transcripts since Dex has been a kid.
This was interesting because when he first gets the tape, I thought they were the tapes of, you know, like a current therapy session. So when he starts listening to them, my first thought is, you know, he lies on those tapes, so they're not worth listening to. Why are you even bothering? And then it dawns on me, oh boy, these are when he was a child. How fascinating.
Well, exactly. Oh, yes, because he lies in his current therapy sessions.
Right, so it's like, it's going to be completely useless, but no. Man.
Yes. No, I was actually taking a drink, so that's perfect. But no, and of course, but we also see in this episode that obviously they're also still listening to his current. They've done the deep dive on all this. Now, truth be told, you had this classic, Speed Force conundrum here, where how could he listen to all of these tapes? Because even if you're thinking like, oh, they saw her once a week for a decade, that's 52 times 10, so that's 520 tapes. So that'd be 520 hours of tapes.
Well, no, but if you looked in the little box with the labeled tapes, I'm sure somebody went through them and picked out the ones that were sort of important, or work might have been done by the therapist that was working, or that sort of thing. I don't know. Yeah. But they seem like there was like maybe 20 in there.
Yeah. And it does look like that. Yeah. So there may be the key tapes that have already been pre-selected for Wilson. But he gets very into these.
Yeah.
Because you see him kind of go into that, sort of dreamscape on the subject, and watching little Dex connect with his coach, and then essentially have Dex murder him for taking him out of the game. And here's what I love about this is Bullseye's classic origin. The only difference is that it wasn't Little League when Dex did it, when Bullseye did it. And actually, I think he actually kills the batter in his original origin. But it's a great take on it, and to put it in Little League just really changes the dynamic of it.
Makes it far more disturbing.
Well, yeah, but again, it's this idea that this is like the one crime he actually has guilt over.
Huh.
And I think maybe it is this because this is also someone who he really cared about. I guess, now what we don't see is like his parents died in a car accident. We don't see if he had anything to do with that. Ooh. And since it's a car accident, we're going to presume it wasn't. Although, again, I think in the comic books it's been implied that he did kill his parents. Bullseye. But also Deadpool. But, yeah. And likewise, we see Dex, has a girl who he has brought in, that has been brought in for him so he could connect with her. And man, it's a weird aspect of things because it is just the idea that, okay, so as this woman has been brought into Dex's life, who we see, this is the woman he's been stalking. Although I love his line, where he says, gee, between where I'm working now and this new job, it almost seems like you're stalking me.
Right. No, it's because, like, obviously, Fisk put that together.
Exactly. And it's one of these things where, when you think about it, it's like, in like 20 minutes, it seems like,
Right. And she just said yesterday I was offered a job for more money than I could turn down. And it's like, oh, that should have been a clue to him right away. How was he so dumb? But, like, it caught him off guard because he wasn't expecting to see her. And this is someone that he usually expects to be, sneaking around and having the upper hand. And all of a sudden she surprises him. He got caught off guard. I don't think so. I think this is the hotel where he's being kept. So he's just downstairs from work. And all of a sudden she's working there. And it's like, oh, my God, what is going on? My two worlds are colliding. I wasn't ready to be this person right now. And so it's so funny. Like the whole time I've been wondering what are Fisk's intentions with Dex, and it's like, oh, I just found the new villain. I was like, oh man, how diabolical!
Well,
How diabolical!
And it is really, well, like I said, this is where we really start to see. I mean, I think in the next few episodes we really see Fisk being Fisk, and and I said that basically you get to see that everything you thought was just, oh, that's just a purely reasonable choice that was made in that episode, and that's just something that happened. And then Fisk, and then we get to this point where it's like, oh, okay, that's what's actually happening. That's what's being revealed here. And I do think that Wilson Fisk is building out a universe of control that, and we're going to see it, and we're going to see exactly how deep this goes as it goes. But it is pretty impressive. It's not that basically there are no coincidences. Everything is like, oh, that was set up because he knew exactly what he needed to do and when he needed to do it.
Right.
I mean, just in crazy ways that to the point where you're gonna say, oh, gee, I don't know if that's actually a reasonable thing. But it's all pretty amazing. But one of the things I do want to talk about is Karen getting in over.
Ooh, Agent Nadim, rattling cages.
No. Well, I was talking about when she meets up with the gentleman from, and I forgot his name now. The Fixer for Fisk.
Oh, yeah.
Where basically she
Mannix.
goes. I'm sorry, what was his name?
Mannix.
Mannix, yes. Oh, Mannix. Like the old detective. A great show if you ever are up at like 3 a.m. on and can get in Channel 33 in the New Jersey area. But that's MeTV to you who don't know. He's just sitting there, and she's like doing her whole power of the press thing at him, and he's like, okay, sweetheart, basically, first off, you think I didn't know who you were the minute you walked in here, and you're gonna try and say, oh, you're gonna protect me, sweetheart? I'm so far more aware of what's going on.
Right.
Than you can even imagine. And then, of course, what you're referring to, of course, Nadim bringing up Wesley.
Right.
And I think it is. This is. I think because I think it's first you get Wesley brought up, and then you get then she goes to Mannix, and then she goes to Foggy, and
right.
Basically for the first time admits that she straight up murdered Wesley.
But it needed to be done, though.
Yeah. Well, what, murdering Wesley?
Yeah. Wasn't she like kidnapped at the time? And
oh yeah. Oh no. I mean, what it is. You ever see Chicago?
The musical?
The musical, yeah. There's this great line called "He Had It Coming," where all the ladies are on Murderers Row, and they're all talking about how they all got on there, and they're completely innocent, but the guy that they're accused of killing had it coming. And this one woman says, she was accused of adultery by her husband, and then all of a sudden they got into a fight, and then he fell on her knife. He fell on her knife 9 times. And that's the thing. It's like, he fell on. She shot him in self-defense. 9 times. She unloaded. Now, of course, there is that argument you can make in that court case, because if you have that nice, that nice defendant, you can make the argument that, hey, look, she pulled the trigger, and the trigger just kept on going, and and it wasn't intentional. That the first shot was self-defense, and then all the other shots they just went along for the ride. It wasn't in the moment. That's what happened, and
right.
But still, she's deathly afraid of this because she does have this deep dark secret. We see Mannix sort of start to reveal her other deep dark secret, which I think we get next episode. I don't know. I haven't watched it yet, but with her father.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but I don't know what you're talking about. But he mentioned something to that effect.
Yeah, well, she mentions that her father put her in the back bedroom because he wanted to protect her, but maybe he sort of protected her brother, and that, drug addicts really do destroy families. So it's like, and it's all very vague, and you don't know exactly who was the drug addict in that storyline and who was what, but it's great and it's interesting, and I think it's next episode we really get the big Karen Page backstory reveal, but I'm excited.
Well, that's gonna be fun.
Yes, but so we really see at the end of this episode kind of Fisk's triumphant, and then we do get this nice opening at the end where we basically see the opening where we see, of course, as it turns out, Matt's not dead yet. Which, if you were worried, if you were wondering, if you thought that maybe they killed off Matt that last scene, nope. There's more to come, and yeah. And I think that's most of this episode. Is there anything you want to call out or talk about?
Yeah, just the downward spiral of Dex after the date goes horribly wrong and he accidentally reveals all this information about her that he shouldn't know.
Oh, yeah. And then he goes home and he
punches a wall.
Yes. And of course we see at the start how it's all ordered and things, and we see that this is how he controls things.
Yeah.
And, it's an interesting question in that, which is, did Kingpin... you hear Tristan singing the Magic Jack in the background? Yeah, hopefully that does not get us pulled from something. Fair use. Anyway, but yes, so we open, and this is the dichotomy between these two scenes, because, of course, at the start we see he's got his perfect apartment and everything is ordered and structured. And we do see that this is how his psychiatrist told him, this is how you deal with your sociopathology. You're going to be ordered, you're going to be structured, you're going to get jobs that require order and structure, and so long as you maintain order and so long as you maintain structure, you're going to be fine. Because you're not a bad person, you just don't have a moral compass. And anyone can be your moral compass. And then when he loses this woman who had been his moral compass, even though she wasn't in his life.
Right.
And this is where I say, I wonder if that was Fisk's intention. Like, it's like almost like, did Fisk
I think so.
want that to break down? I mean, it certainly worked out in Fisk's favor, and there's this argument you could make that had it not worked out in Fisk's favor, he would have still been able to play with it.
Because there was a picture in the file of the girl and him, like, trailing her together. There was a photo, so I'm assuming he caught on.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, he definitely knew there was a lot of stuff going on there. And then when he does freak out, he does start smashing up his apartment, and then he throws the knife, and you see the knife cuts off the pictures of the woman's, in the picture cuts off the woman's head, and it's like, you can see him horrified by his own actions, but at the same time, they're still the actions he took.
Yeah, and he just haphazardly sort of threw it, and it was on the mark,
Yeah, well, that's the thing, is nothing is haphazard, and that's the thing. He is, I mean, that's the thing about Bullseye, is he is such a deadly assassin. He
doesn't even have to think about it. It's just like a little reaction, and it's still there.
Yeah, he just knows where the bullet's going. He knows where it's going. Yeah. He knows exactly what he has to do in every situation to make sure that it hits, and he does. All the math is done in his head, essentially.
I want to see him go up against the Punisher.
Oh, well, that would be fantastic. I doubt we get it this next. It's like kind of sad in a way, because it's like there's all these characters that get set up, but we got to at least wait 2 years for Marvel to bring them out. So yeah, that was the deal. Anyway, but yeah, so that has been
episode 5,
season 3, episode 5 of this amazing show called Daredevil, and it has been season 2, episode 5 for me and Mozz here on the Devil You Know. Mozz, how can people find you if they'd like to talk about all this great stuff with you?
Or they can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com, or find me on Facebook under Mozzmanzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And, of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way the way our Mozz and Poz once said at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And keep on listening to me and Mozz as we explore Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Punisher coming up soon, and maybe a new comedy podcast that me and Mozz just started talking about. We're going to talk about it. We're going to do a little pre-hype here, and we'll see if we actually ever get around to making it. Because, time and the trolley are always hard to get around to things. But yeah, that's the idea, and we're going to look into that as soon as we can. And in the meantime, you can follow me on the Twitters at CharlieESSER. Look for the 2 E's in the middle. For quality. Thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen, as you walk through the darkness of Hell's Kitchen. Know always that the next devil you meet may be a hero, but only if it's the devil you know. Have a great night.